Here we are going to show how to perform and score the overhead squat. The top video is what we're going to begin to look at. It's me attempting to perform the squat without having a block under my heels. The starting position for the squat is to have feet in line with shoulders and toes pointing forward. The dowel is above head when elbows are flexed at 90 degrees and then pushed overhead. The best score of the overhead squat is 3 and is achieved through the upper torso being parallel with the tibia. Femurs are below a horizontal line, and the knees are aligned over feet, with the dowel aligned over the feet as well. So as we play the top video at a normal speed, you see that there are several compensations which will break down in a slow motion. Okay, good. So now, going back and replaying that in slow motion, we can see that I did not achieve a full score of 3. So by beginning to look at my starting position, we can see that my toes aren't aligned straight forward. So this could be an error in the starting position. Then as we look more closely at when I descend into the squat position, we see that most of the motion is coming from my hips and my back. That at my descending, or the end of my squat, you see that my hips are still above that horizontal line. We see that the dowel came way forward over my feet, and that my upper torso and tibia weren't parallel. So as we look at that from a side view, once again we see most of that motion coming from my hips and low back. As I go all the way down, my femur is not below that horizontal line. The dowel is really far forward from my feet, and the amount of flexion coming through my hips and my upper torso, with my upper torso and my tibias not parallel. So now as we look at it, we would say that this wasn't a 3, and then we'll look at the below video where we'll score it with my heels up on the block. So now as we watch this video in fast motion.
Okay, go.
We see that it run a lot more fluently, and now we will go down to break it and see if we can see any compensations. So as we see, I do have a slight lean towards my right. Kind of corrects itself as I get all the way down into my furthest descending phase. Looking at it from a side view, you can see as I descend, the dowel's creaking up a little forward, but better than before. We see that my femurs are below that horizontal line. Dowel's a little far forward, not too bad, but a lot better than before. My upper torso and my tibia are parallel. And as we saw in the front video, my feet and knees are aligned. So as I come up, we would grade this squat as a 2, since it was needing the block under my heels to perform properly. If I was unable to perform the squat properly with the block underneath my heels, we would give it a 1. And if at any time throughout the squat I felt pain, or the motion of the squat was painful, we would record this as a 0. We are going to show how to perform and score the hurdle step. To begin, we measure the length of my tibia from the ground to the tibial tuberosity. This will be the height of the string in which I'll be stepping over. The starting position for the hurdle step will be with both feet together, with toes touching the board, and the stick across the shoulder so it's parallel to the ground and board. As you can see from the top video, the starting position is incorrect as my feet are not together. To record a perfect 3 for the hurdle step, hips, knees, and ankles must all remain in the sagittal plane throughout the movement. There must be minimal to no movement in the L-spine, and the dowel must remain parallel to the ground and board. Now as we play the first video of the video in track motion, recording both measures for both legs, we can see that it was run fairly smoothly. So now as we break it down to look for any compensations in slow motion, you can see that my hips, knees, and ankles shift towards my balanced leg, along with the dowel not staying parallel with the board or ground. With these compensations as I go down and then back up, we would not be able to score this as a 3. Since there was minimal movement in the knees, hips, and ankles, we would give this a score of a 2. If at any point I were to lose my balance completely or knock over the board, it would be a 1. And if there was pain felt throughout the motion, we would label this as a 0. We are going to show you how to perform and score the inline lunge. Once again, we will measure tibia height from the ground to the tuberosity. This will show the starting position for our feet. So the back leg's toes should be at 0, and the front leg's heel should be at the tibia height length. The feet must be aligned together on the board. And then now looking at the dowel placement, the front leg's arm should be on the bottom, and the back leg's arm should be on the top. The dowel should be placed against the butt, back, and head, so the space of the cervical spine and the lumbar spine. And then the dowel should be vertical, straight up and down. Now in order to get a 3 for the inline lunge, the dowel must keep contact on all of those placement spots, and it must remain vertical throughout. There must be no torso movement, and the knee, feet, and the body must remain in the sagittal plane, with the back knee touching behind my front foot. So now as we look at this movement in a full speed, you can already see that there are some compensations.
I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to get you a side view here.
Taking from the side.
Okay. Switch sides.
And then this measure is looked bilaterally, so we'll take a measurement for both sides. Switch the dowel hand placement in the starting position.
Okay. Ready? Mm-hmm. It's still going. Hey, do we have strength?
Once again, looking for any compensation.
You can use a TheraBand.
Good. So as we can see by looking at this in full speed, that there were some compensations that were noticed. So breaking that up into slow motion now. As we start, we can see that the dowel tilts along with my torso. This would be considered part of the 2 score, where there is some dowel movement with some torso movement. Since there wasn't a complete loss of balance throughout this motion, it would be considered a 2. As you can see, my knee touching directly behind my heel. So what would be a score of 1 would be a complete loss of balance or an inability to get into the starting position. And then once again, so we'll look at the reverse side. motion. So once again, if there was any pain felt throughout this motion, we would label this as a score of 0. So as we see, this side is better than the other side, but as we look at it from a side view, we see the slight flexion in my torso. Labeling this as a 2. We are going to show you how to perform and score the shoulder mobility screen. To start, we will measure our hands from the crease in our wrist to the tip of the middle finger. And then as we perform, it will be one hand overhead, one hand under, and then we measure the space in between. We will do this 3 times per side. 3. So then when we're doing this, we're making sure that one hand is overhead and the other hand is under with our thumbs tucked into our fist. As you can see, my thumbs aren't tucked into my fist, so this could have been an error in the test. But, so then when we're looking this for our measurements, we are looking to make sure that our hands are within the length of one hand length apart from each other. So, for example, my hand was 7. As you can see here, my hands aren't 7 inches away, so this would not be a 3. So we do this 3 times, both sides.
7 on that one, other side.
So, like I said, a 3 is 1 hand's length away. A 2 is 1.5 hands length away. And if they can't get within 1.5 hands, it's a 1. And then, if they have any pain throughout this, it would be a 0. So as we look back, this side, we actually did get within the 7 there.
7 on that one, other side.
And then as we can see for this last one, we're about that 8 level, so that one would therefore be a 2. So we would label this as a 2 for our shoulder mobility screen. We are going to show you how to perform and score the active straight leg raise. The starting position for the active straight leg raise is to be supine with the knees over the starting board, over the board. A 3 for this test would be if the malleolus lies between the mid-thigh, labeled by the little marker there, and the ASIS, with the non-moving leg remaining in the neutral position. Each test is performed 3 times per leg. A 2 would be from the midline here and the joint line, and then a 1 would be anywhere from here and less, and then a 0 being for pain. So as we look at the scores,
Right?
Oh, damn, Drew.
Okay, Drew. Okay.
you see that I'm about at that midline spot.
Come on, son.
Dude.
Same thing.
Now, you need another one.
Looking at the other leg,
What number?
right about at that midline.
The measurement? It's just a 1, 2, or 3. Or 0.
Once again, right at the midline. But when scoring the test, we always score low. So we would label this as a 2, as I'm roughly between the midline and the knee, for a score of 2. Anywhere, once again, in front of the midline marker would be a 3. From the midline marker to the knee would be a 2. Anywhere would be a 1. We are going to show you how to perform and score the trunk stability push-up test. We will focus on the screen for men. The starting position will be feet and toes together. As you can see, my feet and toes aren't together, so there could be error in this test. And then thumbs in line with the temples. For a score of 3, or if they were scoring for a 2, the thumbs would be in line with the chin at a lower level. And then what we're looking for throughout the test, if there's any lag through the spine or throughout the body when they are pushing up. So as you watch in slow motion throughout the push, as you can see, there wasn't really any lag throughout the spine. So therefore, with the thumbs placed at the temple level and no lag throughout the spine, this would be labeled as a 3. Once again, there was a little flaw with the feet not touching, which we would then therefore ask the patient to do it again with the feet touching. Like I said before, a 2 would be at chin level, and then if the inability to perform this test without any lag at chin level would be a 1. And then obviously a 0 signifies any pain throughout the movement or pain during the clearing test. So now we're going to show you how to perform and score the rotary stability screen. The starting position is knees and feet and thumbs touching the board. A 3 is the ability to perform a correct unilateral repetition. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is a very hard thing to perform, as most often people score a 2. So as you can see, I was unable to perform a correct unilateral repetition, which would be knees and elbows going all the way up off the ground on the same side, and then touching together, and then back down. So now we're going to look at a 2, the ability to perform a correct diagonal repetition. So once again, while we're performing these, we're watching to make sure that our knees and our toes are touching the board. So that was done correctly, so that would be scored as a 2. Now looking at the opposite side, see that I was unable to perform a 3. As we take this through slow motion, see that arm and leg of opposite are squaring apart, connecting together, and spreading apart again. While we're watching this, we're watching for our trunk to be stable, not losing balance or falling over. Our knees and feet staying in contact with the board. So now as we look at that from a side view, same side, inability, so now a 3. Opposite side, everything touching the board, touch, so that would be a 2. No loss of balance, no extreme rotation. Looking bilaterally, so at the opposite side. Same side, inability, not a 3. Knees, feet, hands touching the board. Diagonal. Good. So we would then call this a 2. A 1 would be the inability to perform the diagonal repetition. And then a 0 would be there being pain throughout the movement or pain felt during the clearing test.